Hello friends, welcome back to another exciting learning series of Terraform for beginners. In today's video, we are going to talk about one of the important concept in Terraform, which is tfvars file. So what are these tfvars file? What is difference between a variables.tf versus tfvars file, and a use case of how to use the tfvars file in our day-to-day Terraform stuff. So without any delay, let's get started. Before we get into the depth of tfvars file, let's have a quick recap on what are variables in Terraform. So here is it. So variable block in Terraform are used to define name variables type, which can be your string, boolean, number, it can be your map, it can be your list, and a default value, which is an optional. So what are the types of variables in Terraform? It is input variable, output variable, and a local variable. How can we define the variable? So you need to define the variable with a keyword variable name, the type, which can be your string, number, map, list, boolean, etc., and a description of that variable. So on the screen, you can see I have a variable called as instance type. I have a variable called as a tag. I have a variable called as a location, where if you see very closely, where I have defined a default value for the location, but rest of the two values variables, I haven't defined that default value because it's an optional. Now let's move to our main topic, which is tfvars file. So what are these tfvars files? So tfvars files allow us to manage the variable assignment systematically in a file with an extension .tfvars or a .tfvars.json. That means it helps you to assign or provide the values to the variables which you have defined in variable.tf. Now, as I mentioned, the tfvar files are the files where the variables are provided or assigned a value. Now, how can you declare this tfvars file? If you see the example on the screen, I have a terraform-dev.tfvars file, and in that I have given the actual value to the variable, which is instance type, tag, and location. So now when I execute Terraform plan, these values will get loaded and it will show me on the screen that these are the actual values for the variables before I execute Terraform plan. Don't worry, we are going to see a demo session of this in our next video, which is going to be out soon. Now, what is the difference between the variables.tf versus tfvars? The variable.tf file is used to define the variables type and optionally set a default value, which we have seen in our earlier slides. What is Terraform tfvars file used for? So Terraform tfvars file is used to set the actual values of the variables. One key point to note here is that you can set a default value of variables in variable.tf, which we have seen, but not in tfvars file. Now let's go to the use case of how can we use tfvars file in our day-to-day stuff. So the use case is very simple, that you want to build up the infrastructure for dev QA, and prod. And now you can't define everything into a main.tf and a variables.tf, because you would have a different requirement for their development, QA, and there can be a different requirement for the production. So that's where this Terraform tfvars file comes into picture, where it helps us to make a use of it while defining the infrastructure or the variables used to build your infrastructure. So in this PPT, you see that I have dev.tf vars file, I have qa.tf vars file, and I have a prod.tf vars file. Don't worry, we are going to have a small demo in next few minutes using these three tfvars file. The main purpose of this PPT was to explain you what is tfvars file and how can we use tfvars file in our day-to-day infrastructure setup. So without any delay, let's move to our demo session. So welcome back to our demo session. In this video, we are going to basically talk about how can we use tfvars file, what we have discussed in our PPT. So I have already installed the Terraform on my AWS EC2 instance. If you haven't watched the video of how to install the Terraform on AWS EC2 instance, kindly go through my playlist, or I will share the link in my video description. So if you see on my screen, I have already installed the Terraform and I have created two TF files. One is variable.tf and one is output.tf. Let me walk through that file with you first. So if you see in the variable.tf, I have declared two variables. I have not assigned any variables. I'm focusing on declaring the variable. So there are two types of variable. One is instance type, which is having a type string, and another one is environment, which is having a type string. Again, let me now open the output.tf. So in the output.tf, I have defined output variable has message, and in that I am calling the variable var.instance type and var.env. This is how you can call your variables into output.tf if you want to print that variables. So now let's basically first execute or validate our statements. So there is a command called as terraform validate. Okay, it says success. Now let's execute our Terraform plan, and this is how where the magic of variables.tf will start if you haven't declared the default value. So now it prompts us to enter the value of the environment. So I'm just entering as QA. What is the instance type? Let me put T2 nano. And you see our output is being declared. So if you see, it says this is T2 nano for QA. And that's how the variables.tf will work if you haven't declared any default variable. So now let me declare a default value. Okay, so let's just say here default equals to def and let's see what happens. Let's first clear the screen, go back to our validate. Okay, let me close it with the double quotes. Sorry for that. Default. Okay, let me again validate success. Now let me run the plan, and now it is prompting for the instance type. Let's say T2 micro. And if you see, it haven't asked us to input the variable called as environment, because we have already given a default value for that, and that's what is printed in our output message. Now let's move to our tfvars file. So remember, in our use case, we have three tfvars file. One was QA, one was dev, and one was prod. So let me first build the QA.tfvars file. So what I'm doing here is, I know I have already declared the variable call has instance type and the environment in my variable.tf. Now I am basically assigning the values. So now what I'm doing is uh, I have made sure that the name of variable is same what I am setting the value for. So I have set a value instance type equals to T2 micro, and the environment is QA. So let's save, oh, sorry, let's save this. Similarly, I have declared the prod environment, the prod.tfvars. I have also created dev.tfvars file. Now let's validate and see the magic of this. So Terraform validate success. Now, how can you basically pass this? That's what is we are going to see here. So Terraform, okay, plan, and there is something called as var dash file, and in that you will be passing the tfvars file, which in this case, let's pass tf qa tfvars. Okay, and let's execute it. You see, it has called the tfvars file, and if you have noticed, our default value which we have declared in variable.tf has been overridden. So that's the magic of tfvars file. You can build your infrastructure by using this qa tfvars file. That is dynamically you can pass what you want without modifying the anyone's code. It's similar case with the Unix shell scripting, where we define the config file and we export that config file while executing the Unix shell script. So now let me again pass prod.t and see what happens, right? That's what you see now. It has basically took the variables which we have defined in prod.tfvars file, which is the instance type t2.xlarge and the environment, and it is calling that message. That's what the magic of tfvars file is. I hope you got the understanding of how can you use the tfvars file in your day-to-day setting up or building your infrastructure for QA, staging, development, production, anything. If you have liked this video, kindly do subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the like button, and do not forget to hit the bell button to get notified whenever I upload such exciting videos on Terraforms or any other tools. Do share this video with your friends and colleagues to get an overview of how they can use tfvars file in their day-to-day infrastructure setup or any other thing related to the Terraform. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.